Ignition sequence has started. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
You have entered Untold Radio AM. And now broadcasting from a secret location, your hosts, Joel Sturgis and Doug Hychak. And welcome to this edition of Untold Radio AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is Mr. Doug Hychak. Tonight we have a great show on tap for you. As always, each and every week we bring you the cutting edge in radio, talk radio, about the strange and unusual. Thank you again for joining us again for yet another week. Tonight we're having a filmmaker on. He is a documentarian, and he put the movie out there, the documentary called Wildman, My Search for Sasquatch. I did take a look at this documentary. Very interesting stuff. Justin will be bothering us. No bother at all. Will be joining us. I know. Look at that, Doug, right? Can't even talk right tonight. Will be joining us at the bottom of the hour. You want to hang around for that. A lot of great stuff happening. It's on an island, too, we're going to talk about. It's a really strange island that I've always been fascinated about, the Vancouver Island. Just a little, FYI for you guys. Okay, Doug, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
It's been a crazy
day.
day.
I really want to talk to Justin about Vancouver Island because that is like one of my great white whales to get there.
You haven't been?
I've never been there. I've never been there.
A few times. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. You're Doug Hychak, so you've been everywhere.
I went there and I got to hang out with John Bindernagel, Dr.
Really?
John Bindernagel. Yeah, who's passed, sadly,
Yeah.
but he was. Besides Grover Krantz, he was the first biologist, scientist, mainstream scientist, to stick his neck out and say they're real. Bigfoot's are real.
Very cool.
Yep.
Very cool. Again, Justin will be joining us at the bottom of the hour. I was all aflutter because, we got a lot of stuff going on, but over the weekend we had a lot of fun at the very first Para-Unity Con that happened in Duluth. And if you didn't make it this year, there will be another one next year. But we had a ton of fun, met a lot of great people, had a really good turnout as well. I really enjoyed myself. How about you, Doug?
Yeah, it was fun. I got one weird story I'm going to have to tell you in a little bit. I'll kind of save it right before the commercials.
Okay.
But I had one really weird thing happen there.
High strangeness, right?
Yeah, it was. It was really. Yeah.
Wow. We'll talk about that. And what else is going on?
Oh my God, that's a loaded question. Today has been insane. As you know, we started a publishing company.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of meetings with authors today because we're basically doing complete full service on a book. So if you're an author and you have an idea, fine, then we can talk and then you can write your book and we'll, obviously reconnoiter. But if you're an author that's got a book done, we can take your manuscript and in a very short order, probably, 3 to 4 weeks, we get the cover done for you. We get all the ISBN numbers. We get everything in all the digital formats, it's quite complicated and quite a lengthy process. Get everything published in print. Get everything distributed to every distributor out there. And all that in just 3 to 4 weeks.
That's almost unheard of in the world of publishing these days, too, because when you talk to other publishers, they're talking months. Get all that done. You guys
months
get that done in weeks. So if you got a book out there, you have an idea for a book, it's worth your time to stop by Untold Publishing, kick the tires, talk to these guys, find out what they could do for you, because that is really quick. Because that's one of the big complaints from other people that I know that have actually gone self-publishing because of the wait that you described rather.
Yeah,
they didn't want to wait for that. They didn't want to wait forever to hear anything.
Right.
Where Untold gets the ball rolling almost immediately.
Right. And, and we'll do a lot of continued promotion, as I'm going to do tonight for a book. But it's embroiled and a lot of drama right now because, as you know, we're going to be putting up hotspot cams in weird locations all over the country. We have our first cams going in that started going in yesterday. So last night, this is a true story. Last night, we got one camera online. It is what we call our trespass sign camera. So it looks just like a trespass sign. And 1 a.m, just about exactly 1 a.m, I get this stupid idea. I'm like, I'm going to play dead rabbit calls out of the camera. That's hidden.
Oh, very cool.
So I can do that, right? I can turn like different lights on. I can control, like if I want the 900 nanometer infrared lights on or off, whatever. We can do everything. So I'm thinking, okay, so I'm going to do this. So I find a really good, real, not electronic, but a real dead rabbit dying. And I play that sound over the thing. 2 minutes later, now these cameras will automatically alert you when there's motion, but they're recording all the time. They're on. And so you can monitor them real time, which we're going to be sharing with the world, right? And with all of our listeners. So they can go ahead and subscribe to Untold Radio, listen to look at the cameras 24/7. And I'm going to tell you, it was just one camera I was watching, totally addicting. Because you think about it. You have a camera in the middle of the forest. You don't know what's going to come out. It could be a bear, could be a wolf, could be a pack of wolves, could be a Bigfoot. In this particular property, we kind of tease, but we really do mean it. It's like the Skinwalker Ranch in Minnesota. And there's been a whole...
Yeah.
Right. The book was called Sasquatch Central, written by Mike Quast. Really well-written book. A lot of pictures. Documented all the activity. That's continuing to go on. So, Adam designs an amazing, I call it kind of a squid camera system because really it's going to be eventually 8 cameras, but I think we have 6 or 7 right now. And that's a lot of work out in the forest. I mean, I want you to think about this.
Yeah.
These have to be powered. They have to be hooked to the internet, to stream them. It's a challenge of challenges. And we wanted them all hidden, right? So like one's in a trespassing sign, one's in one we call Squirrel Cam 1, Squirrel Cam 2. We've got peanut butter surprise. It's actually in a peanut butter jar. If you take the lid off and look, what you're going to do if you're opening a lid, you look into it. Whatever the lid will be busted. But remember, we've had something, we don't know what, habituated on opening these peanut butter jars, unscrewing the cap, taking all of the contents, in many cases so clean it looks like it went through a dishwasher.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is at Randy, and I'm just going to give his nickname. People call him Randy Diamond because of his music talents. Neil Diamond, let's play on that. I don't think he's rich or anything, but it's Randy Diamond based on Neil Diamond. Okay. So anyhow, so this, whatever these are, one, have been seen by many neighbors. They've been seen by the homeowner twice. They've been seen by other Bigfoot investigators. They've been heard. This has been ongoing. It's really been a crazy place. Part of the reason it's crazy is because there's a number of rivers that all flow together and meet on that property. And a power line cut.
Okay.
So if you're picturing, 4 rivers all joining on this one property, so you basically have a corridor or 4 corridors, 5 corridors that are all meeting there. Plus the deer there are thick, the blueberries, the raspberries, it's a lot of reprod forest. So replanted forest. It's rich in wildlife. There's bears like crazy. It's pretty much everything. But these peanut butter jars have never been chewed, or at least most of them haven't. But when a bear gets it, because they just...
Yeah, they rip it open.
Yeah, you can tell. The lid's got teeth marks. But this thing's been taking the lids off, lining the lids up by color, taking the jar, playing with a little, basically a gifting area. rearranging things.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of basically just getting whatever it is used to taking the peanut butter and so on. So now back to my story. So the camera's live. One camera's live. Adam's sleeping up there in a tent overnight because he's got to then finish the install in the morning. So I get this bright idea at 1 a.m. to play dead rabbit calls over this one camera.
Yeah.
5 minutes later, all of a sudden I see the green boxes, and those are capture boxes, meaning it's detecting motion. And I know damn well I can see the trees, and I know damn well those trees are 15, 20 feet high.
Yeah.
But maybe the camera's showing, maybe 10 feet of them. Here comes a box. And I can also see the figure goes from my right, stage right, to stage left. You can see a little bit up and down motion. You can see what looks like a leg and an arm and a shoulder because they're right behind the trees.
Oh my God.
The first row of trees. And I'm like, what the heck? Here comes another one.
Oh
and
my
just a little
God,
shorter
Doug.
than the first one. Then here comes another one that's a little shorter than the other one. And I'm going to tell you, Joel, I have welled up tears now in my eyes. You don't even know why you're crying, but I was literally crying. You know what I mean? Sort of crying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just so
misting up.
So
Misting
chilled.
up watch.
Yeah. Not only chilled with the emotions of, oh my God, I'm seeing something I'm not supposed to see. You
captured a Bigfoot, Doug.
And then I'm like, there is a record button so I can manually hit record, but it's supposed to go into the cloud, right? If it triggers an event, it won't go into the cloud unless there's some pixel movement.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, thank God. I'm seeing these green boxes. So I immediately, I start texting. And I text Adam, don't erase any footage in the cloud until we talk. And I'm literally still shaking. I've got my eyes are just running with, tears. And I'm really freaked out because you could see the creatures. You knew what they weren't. It wasn't three bears walking on their hind legs.
Right, because you got these cameras up, just for the audience again, you have them up quite a ways up, these cameras. They are not ground cameras.
No. These
are up.
Yeah, this sign, for instance, is attached. No trespassing sign is attached to a tree.
So we're talking 8 feet in the air.
It looked like the first one could be up to 10 feet. Now, I was in a panic. I was a little late getting on air tonight because I did get a photo of tape that Adam went and put 6 feet up, right? So I'm going to do this right now, and I got to go to that camera before the sun sets. So let me open my app. And I'm going to go to live. Then that was the no trespassing sign. So I'm clicking that right now. It's refreshing. Okay, now I'm going to get it bigger so I can see his. Like, for instance, I just clicked the infrared lights on, and I just clicked them off. So I need to see. Okay, there's the tape. Yeah, all of 7.5 feet on the one.
Oh,
8 foot.
That ain't no bear.
No.
That is no bear.
It could have been as high as 9 feet. The first.
Yeah. That the only thing that would be that tall in those woods, and you would know it when you saw it because of what it is, would be a moose.
Yeah, and if you look at, like, I'm looking at the live picture, there's like 3 aspen trees, not huge, maybe 4-inch trunks. Mm-hmm. Then there's a little brush, and then there's a bigger, looks like a white pine, or some other kind of tree. I can't tell because I can't see the branches. It looks like some kind of a white pine or a red pine, but it walked right between all that stuff. Right? They all did, in a line, in a complete line. So it was just, it would have been really, kind of gray if I would just seen the one.
Yeah.
To see 3 walking in a row.
To see 3 of them in a row, like single file coming through.
Yeah, single file.
Past the camera. Oh my God, that's mind-blowing. That is absolutely mind-blowing, Doug.
Okay, well, it gets better. It gets better, Joel. So now, I'm up all night now, and I waited like 3 hours, and I thought I'm going to try this again. So I did the dying rabbit, and I thought I'm going to try a coyote call. Wait a while, I tried a coyote call. Nothing happened. Then I played some Bigfoot mumbling from the moorhead. Mm-hmm. So remember, this stuff's broadcasting right out in the woods. There's nobody out there. It's 2, 3 in the morning at this point. Nothing happened except here comes another capture box. Just one. And it's like traveling from, once again, the same direction. And once again, I freeze up and I can't hit the record button. So in the morning, I ended up talking to Adam, and he's like, dude, I didn't set up the cloud yet. I'm like, you're kidding me. You got to be kidding me. He's like, no, I didn't do that yet. So no footage. But I did. But then later on, there was some other weird thing I saw that was like a double row of lights. And it was like going from up and down. It was like investigating the trees. And I do realize dust and infrared lights don't mix. You get like orbs.
Yeah.
This was not an orb or a dust particle that was, because it was
It had flight path. It was showing intelligence.
Well, it had a flight path, but it also had 4 little like oblong balls. They weren't round.
Really?
Connected by 2 like little legs. And they were kind of darting on. I did record that. I was smart enough to hit the record button on that, right? Okay. So then this afternoon, right before I went on the air, probably half an hour, I get a call from Adam and Randy, frantic. And they're just like talking over each other, and it sounded like chaos, and they're just like, it was red and black, and it came towards the camera, and it's like a shadow, and then it came towards, and it's got a cone head, and it's one's red, and it's touching the, one's black, one's whatever. And they're just going, I'm like, dude, guys, and we're all trying to talk over each other. And I don't know if we're just kind of, I'm trying to get him the information, and he sends me a still because he couldn't get he's like, just go to your app and it's in the events, and because they could see it in the events and I couldn't. He's like, you got to refresh your events. And I'm like, how do I refresh? So we're just like panicked, right? Because, it was exciting.
What did they see, Doug?
Okay. So here's where it gets a little weird, too, because I still haven't seen the footage. I just emailed it to my other right. I have 2 monitors for the radio thing.
Yep.
And, of course, we took this one monitor to the convention.
Sure.
So it's dark. So I can't get it. I can't get it to turn on. And the footage is on. Oh, maybe it's going to turn on. Hold on. There we go. It did turn on. The remote batteries must be getting dead. So in a second, I'm going to look at the footage.
Oh, man.
And then I will relay what I'm seeing. I did see a still, and it was the weirdest still picture I've ever seen. It looked like a black tornado out 20 feet in front of the camera. Because they were like, this thing materialized right in front of the camera, like from a cloud.
Man.
And that's what they're telling me. And I'm like, oh, my God, I got to see this. It just gets weirder and weirder. Okay, so now I've got to open up my email. Hold on here. Slide it over to the other monitor. Hit my inbox. I'm sorry to drag this out real time.
No. I'm waiting. I'm waiting to hear what you're going to see here.
Okay, now I'm going to get my password in. Okay, that's in. It's churning, loading. So now it's going to give me my new emails, which should have the footage. Inbox, I got to refresh. Oh my God, my inbox has 1,666. So it's 666.
Oh man.
So the next email will be 667.
Oh. I'll send you an email just to break up that 666.
Yeah, God. Well, it is now because it just came in as 667. Okay, I have to download the file. This is driving me crazy.
You're hearing this real time, folks.
Yeah.
Doug is going to be looking at some alleged high strangeness footage. We don't know what this is yet.
Yeah. Okay. So what eventually we'll have is a place where people can actually watch us, all these cameras, or some of them, and then they can even hit record. They'll have their own record button so they can record it to their own computer. They'll have chat up. It'll be interactive for everybody. And I'm going to tell you, do not watch it unless you don't want to get anything done, because you will be so addicted at night.
Yep.
Even if you're a wildlife expert, or wildlife.
Well, sure. I mean, think of the possibilities of having all these cameras live in the forest, always rolling. The possibilities of what wildlife you're going to see, not only obviously for Bigfoot research, but for other research of different kind of animals and seeing their activity at night that maybe has never been filmed before.
I'm watching it right now, Joel. So I'm seeing a cloud of red forming on the side of the camera.
What?
Yeah, it's definitely red fur. It definitely looks big as I scrub it back and forth, up and down. I mean, it could be a big arm even, big red arm. Nothing went in front of the lens, but here's the weird part. I'm not seeing the black cloud, the black thing they're talking about, because I know it's there because they sent me a still from it.
Yeah.
So that may be another clip I've got to try to get to. And I did see the still. I can show it to you, Joel. Let me go to that cloud thing. Oh, it just gets craziness. Okay, here I'm going to open this up. Yeah, that is weird looking. Here, can you...
I can't. Whoa, lower that phone a little bit. There it is. I see it right there.
You see like a black...
I see that. I do. I do.
Right.
That is strange. It's semi-translucent as well.
Yeah, semi-translucent, like a Bigfoot. Just semi-translucent.
Right? That is one of the weirdest pictures I've seen in a very long time. What the hell were they witnessing?
And they said it rushed towards the camera and then got more solid as it got closer to the camera. They saw it like live. Because
Doug, but think about this. Okay, let's just say, for argument's sake, what they're witnessing is a Bigfoot materializing. Maybe it is what they are saying. Maybe it does have some type of otherworldly powers. We don't know exactly yet. Exactly.
Oh, okay, I just got a text from a researcher who's up there, or I don't know if he's up there. He's apparently in contact with them. He said the black part only showed up on the thumbnail because it grabs the thumbnail. So it was so quick. Whatever it was rushed towards the camera so
that
quick.
Fast, it's on one frame, basically the thumbnail.
Yeah, one frame, correct. But the red is on many. You can see whatever it is. But the camera went offline. That's the weird part. The camera instantly went offline.
Jeez.
And that I haven't even gotten an update. I'll try to get a real-time update because they're going to walk back. And
you got to get these cameras up for others to watch. I'm telling you, and that's coming soon, folks. Don't get, when Doug says it's going to happen, it will be happening here soon, and you'll be able to watch right along with everyone else. I'll be watching as well. I have yet to see these cameras myself, so I will watch it live right along with you guys for the first time.
Yeah, it is weird. So it's definitely, if it was a bear that was red and that tall, because we're talking, I can see it's certainly not a ground cam. I don't know exactly the dimensions, and they're all listening live right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask them, can they tell me how high it's called squirrel cam? How high, if somebody can text me, how high is squirrel cam up in the air? That would be great to know.
Yeah,
so,
that'd be very interesting. So, aside from this, and this is mind-blowing, what happened to you at the convention?
Oh,
you touched on it.
Okay, this gets weird. And we're going to have this gentleman on next week.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to have a guy on next week that was attacked by a Bigfoot. Literally. He flew, he flew because the thing basically jammed a birch tree with the root ball right into his gut.
Oh, my God.
And he flew back because he had walked up, he saw the legs, and as he looked up, there it was, and it just got him right away.
Oh, my God.
And he flew. He ended up, quite far away from the incident happened because he slid then down a hill. So he's going to be on next week. And I've been working with Jeff on another project, which is basically the opposite of what we got going on at Randy's. Things are going up there that are, how would I put it? Obvious. So the goal is up there is to have cameras, to have food, everything. Like the cameras are painted bright blue. We're not trying to hide them. But we leave them on the ground or leave them loose on a tree. There's no power to them so they can play with them. Get used to them. That's going to happen all summer. Just get used to this stuff. And there's a ball he brings out there that we collect hair off of. So Jeff's been getting hair, the Alba Vernix, the white skin oil, where they touch the ball. He collects that every time. And the last time he was up there, I mean, he's got a kayak like 10 miles. Then he's got to walk in the woods about a half a mile, and there's a big opening, a meadow. And he goes out there and he totally ignores any Bigfoots. He just ignores them. He'll go out there and play with the ball, have fun, and leave it there.
I see.
Like crazy. You follow me? Reverse psychology. Then they seem to come and play with the ball. But at some point, the ball will have cameras in it.
See, now that's right there. That's what you got to do. It's like deer hunting, right? Before I go deer hunting, I leave shirts out on my property. Leave shirts out so they get my smell. They know my scent. They realize my scent's non-threatening, so they're coming real close. Yeah. Exactly. Hunters have been using that same technique for years, so that would work with. You would assume, same premise would work for Bigfoot.
Well, here's where the weird story is. So me and Blaine are sitting at the booth. And now I'm going to back up because earlier, even on the way up there, I was talking to Jeff even the day before or 2 days before about how we need to find a blue feather because everything we're doing is blue. One, him and I both now suspect, that these things see in UV light, and he agrees with me. He's a UV expert.
Sure.
He had heard me on the radio on Bobo and Cliff Brockman's podcast, Bigfoot and Beyond, about talking about how I suspect bears can see in UV light, and I definitely suspect these things can see in UV light spectrum. He heard that, and all of a sudden a whole new world opened up to him. That's how we met. But we were talking about this blue feather. We want to get a hold of a blue feather. A psychic woman comes by the booth and hands me a blue feather and says, I think you'll know what to do with this.
No way.
Yep. And I got Yep. And I sent Jeff a picture of it right away. And he's like, oh my God, that's so weird. So I'm going to send Jeff the feather.
So your blue feather came from out of the blue.
Out of the blue, yeah.
So now you have your blue feather that you need last piece
from
of
a
the
psychic.
puzzle.
From a psychic.
From
At
the
the
event.
Convention.
Well, that is interesting. That is real interesting.
Okay, if that's a coincidence, Joel,
that's not coincidence. That's not coincidence.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so Adam just sent me. Adam's almost 6 foot tall. He just sent me a picture of him walking under where I saw those 3 in line creatures last night. He's tiny compared to where I saw those things. He's just tiny. So actually that thing looks quite a bit higher than 6 feet, but I don't know. I'll have to confirm. But
man, That is super exciting and
He's
super
the size
interesting.
he's the size of the last one that followed in line.
Yeah, but possibly the baby. We don't know if there's juveniles on site.
Yeah.
So we gotta get out of here. We gotta run a break. We come back. We're gonna be talking Bigfoot on Vancouver Island. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. I paid more than the minimum each month, and soon enough, it was gone.
So you're just giving up?
Giving up on what?
The life of luxury. Egyptian cotton, caviar Thursdays, designer everything.
What are you talking about?
Our plan. What happened to winning the lottery and mastering the art of the perfect mimosa? Hosting galas, wearing enough jewelry to require a bodyguard, vacationing in the French Riviera, and then buying it.
I just thought maybe it was time to prepare for my future. You know, set some financial goals, make some smart investments, open a 401k.
Financial goals? Investments? A 401k? You are horrifying right now. Listen, if winning the lottery were easy, everyone would do it.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So me and the boys head out to tailgate today and find some other fans in our spot.
Well, it happens.
Cheering for the wrong team.
Oh, this is war.
Even worse, they've got this couch set up and everything.
A couch?
Yeah, it's sectional.
All right, first thing, don't ever use the word sectional again.
Done.
Second, I want you to grab a 4,700-pound tow chain with J-hook and grab hammer. Throw that on the back of your truck.
Got it.
Now you're going to Hail Mary the J-hook over the end of that couch. Time to find a better spot for your new friends.
That should do it.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Green light. Hey, girl. School zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to Untold Radio AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, and right along with me is Mr. Doug Hychek. If I sound a little bit rushed, I was listening to Doug's story again about what he was seeing in that camera. Again, folks, that'll be live here before you know it. You'll be able to watch on this property as well. Everybody else, this strange activity that is going on. But tonight we have a great guest on tonight. Justin Trempensky is with us, and he is a filmmaker from Canada. Justin, thank you so much, but let me read a little bit about you before we unleash the beast, as it were. Justin is a filmmaker, photographer, and former wildland firefighter. By the way, that's hard work right there. God bless you for that one. Based out of Alberta, Canada, he is the director and producer of the documentary Wildman, My Search for Sasquatch, and also the creator of Mountain Beast Mysteries. He has a YouTube channel which focuses primarily on Sasquatch topics. Justin's fascination with Sasquatch began when he was a child, when his father introduced him to the subject. Since then, his curiosity led him into the pursuit of the creature and to discover more information on the elusive Bigfoot. Being a former outdoor guide and forestry worker, Justin has spent countless hours in the wilderness and is now more convinced than ever that Sasquatch may in fact be real. Without any further ado, Justin, thank you so much for coming on to Untold Radio AM.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'm really happy to be here and looking forward to talking with you guys.
I sat through your documentary this afternoon. Good stuff. Really good stuff. I actually, it's the first one I ever paid for that I'm like, that trailer looks so cool. I'm going to pay the 99 cents, man. It was worth every nickel, too. So if you guys want to see this, if you haven't seen it yet, it is, and you're waiting to hear someone say, man, that was awesome. That was awesome. You're going to want to get this documentary if you have any kind of interest in Bigfoot or even nature, because you go in some very beautiful areas. So you get both with this documentary.
Yeah, they focus more, I guess, on my search and I guess the journey of looking for Bigfoot more than the creature itself. And that was kind of always the goal, is to bring people out into the wilderness, into these beautiful areas, and, you know, just take them along on the journey. So
yeah, and quite a journey it is. I mean, you spend quite a bit of your time on Vancouver Island in this documentary. Yeah. And let me tell you, it's one of my bucket list places to get to. I haven't gotten there yet, but one of these days I will. And some of the terrain during the journey was pretty treacherous, my friend. I mean, at one point you're in a truck that we didn't know if it was going to make it there or if it wasn't. I mean, that part I was going, oh man, you don't want to break down here.
Well, the funny thing is, like 2 weeks after I got back from that trip, the starter in that truck actually went. So I'm really lucky I didn't get stranded out there.
Right. Yeah. It just held on just long enough for you.
Well, yeah. The cool thing about Justin is he goes alone. You know, he really is alone. And that adds another factor. Just knowing you're alone, Justin. Because I'll be honest, you're not ever seeing me ever go out alone. I'll go with you anywhere, but I'm not going alone. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's one thing to go hiking alone and, like, you know, enjoying hiking trails by yourself. But it's another thing to, you know, be thinking of Sasquatch, something that is known to maybe be the cause of people going missing. You know, it's a whole different ballgame when you're thinking about that and you're going into these areas where there's actually been sightings.
How do you keep those thoughts out of your head?
I don't. In fact, when I go out, like prior to going out, I'll download all kinds of weird, creepy podcasts about all these scary encounters, and I'll listen to them while I'm out there.
Oh no. So you do the opposite. You try to saturate yourself.
Yeah, you got to immerse yourself in the experience, man.
Yeah. Okay. Have you ever? I was just going to ask one more thing, Joel. Have you ever had anything really unexplained while you're in your tent and, you know, you're alone and you felt like, God, I wished I was home?
I haven't had anything happen while I was alone, but I've had weird things happen while I was with other people, which is, you know, strange. You'd expect it to be the other way around.
Yeah.
Like in Wildman, My Search for Sasquatch, we had weird things start happening. Like the first night, we were hearing things cracking around in the bush by the camp. And then the first morning we woke up, we found these strange oily fingerprints on the car window. Like very oily fingerprints. And you know what that's all about.
Yeah. You back up here because it's so cool to hear that from you.
Yeah.
But you've seen this firsthand, this waxy, oily. And what are your thoughts of where? I mean, is it coming out of their hands? Are they rubbing their body?
I don't think they're rubbing their body, but like when that happened, that was very early on in my exploration of the subject. So I didn't really know what it was about or what it was at all. it was just a weird thing that we noticed and we observed, and we took lots of images of it, like high resolution photos of the fingerprints, and you could see the oils, and then you can see the dermal ridges because there was like a coating of dust that the wind had blown over the car.
Right.
And I didn't even know that was a Bigfoot thing, and because that was back in 2015 when we were on that trip. And, later on, I started seeing people posting images of weird fingerprints showing up on their car windows. And, then I realized, this is actually a thing that they're known to leave behind.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big thing in the future. I really do. Because think about it. You can get DNA from it. You can get molecular, compounds that are in that skin oil that are probably going to be different than human. And then you've got the actual latent details. You can't fake those complicated fingerprints. No way.
No. If I had known any better at the time, I would have tried to take a sample of them.
Right.
But the thought never even occurred to us. We were pretty new to the whole thing.
Yeah. I saw that scene, of course, watching the documentary. And do you think the dust helped bring those fingerprints out?
For sure.
Where it really popped for you guys. You guys could really get good photos of it.
I feel like if the dust didn't cover it, we probably wouldn't have even noticed it, to be honest.
Yeah. Because they're fairly big handprints, too. I mean, they were pretty big on that window.
They weren't that big, but the hands were in weird positions.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You
it
imagine
looked like a palm, and then what I saw, palm, and then some fingers, like it was pressed. But yeah.
And so, my theory, Justin, is that they're very tactile. They like to touch different textures, screens, shiny, glossy items, car doors, paint. Windows. I think really they love windows for some reason. I mean, they've got to just be in that tactile thing, because think, if you're in the forest, they don't get to feel a lot of different textures.
Yeah, and shiny cars and glass or something they're not very used to. So yeah.
So what got you interested? I mean, aside from your dad, because he's in the movie as well, he talks about his experience fishing. What got you really interested in Sasquatch? Was it, shows like Monster Quest? What made you want to go beyond just a passing interest to actually getting out there and being a part of this and maybe trying to find one?
Well, yeah, like you said, my dad's in the film, and he's obviously a huge influence, and he had kind of introduced me to the subject when I was a little kid. We'd always watch old documentaries, like really old ones from the 70s. And they were always quite captivating. But yeah, Monster Quest and shows like Destination Truth, those were two big shows that, were on TV at the time, when I was a bit older, and, they're really well done, and they managed to captivate me in a way that wanted me to pursue the subject, long term, so...
Somebody just wrote me, and they wanted to ask you whether those prints, did it have a short palm and longer fingers, or can you describe that, or do they need to go to the movie to take a look?
I mean, to me, they seemed like small hands, to be quite honest. And after going through everything that happened on those days that we were there, I kind of feel like if there was a Sasquatch in that area, it was a juvenile. That's what I feel like, because it looked like small hands, and we found tracks in the moss that were relatively small and shaped like what you'd expect a juvenile Bigfoot track to be shaped like. So that's just the kind of sense that I got. It seemed kind of like a playful behavior that it had. And, if it was a Bigfoot, if it was a juvenile Bigfoot, it was moving through that area like a ghost, because we never did see it. But apparently it was coming into the camp when we weren't around or when we were sleeping. So,
yes, yeah. Every 8-foot Bigfoot at one point was a 2-foot Bigfoot.
Yeah, exactly.
That is true. That is true. The wise ones, probably the ones that grow big.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't even know how to answer that one, Joel.
It's a Captain Obvious statement, is what it is.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, because it opens the door to intelligence is what I'm saying. They seem to be very intelligent, Bigfoot, because they have a social structure, it would seem.
Right.
They have a way of communication. They have their own language, clearly. And so that would speak to a high intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And so you've got a channel, Justin, on YouTube too. That's quite popular. You've got you do have 100,000 subscribers, I believe.
Getting pretty close.
Yeah.
I think we're at 90,000 right now.
That's not easy to do. So congratulations on that. And I know you've got a lot of content on there. Do you want to talk about some of the content and what are you most proud of on the what project have you done, a film project that you're most proud of?
Well, I think I'm most proud of the first one that I did, Wildman, My Search for Sasquatch, just because it was the first one and it seemed like such a huge undertaking at the time. Like I had never done any film work at all before that. So I was kind of learning everything as I was going along. Like I didn't know how to edit videos or do anything. Like really, I was just kind of making it up as I went along. So I'm most proud of that one. Obviously, there's stuff I've put out at this point that's done a little bit better and is a little more refined.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I go out into the bush, the videos where I'm actually out there looking and exploring, those are my favorite ones. But other than that, I do videos going over reports and going over different theories. And I pretty much like to be open to all the ideas and theories. I don't really rule anything out, but I'm skeptical of a lot of evidence that comes out online. And I don't know. For the most part, I like to entertain it.
Yeah. Yeah. There really hasn't been a lot of amazing footage of one of these creatures other than the Patterson footage from 1967. And so would that be something that you strive for, to get footage?
Yeah.
That
was always my goal, is to get like some high resolution footage, like in a clip that's not a minute long, something that's maybe I can observe it for like half an hour and get it all on video, something like that.
Yeah, and that's highly possible. That's just, it's just going to take the right set of circumstances. And with a 4K camera, you should be able to, and with a zoom lens, if you could imagine something was, maybe resting or sitting, because I'm sure they take breaks for their feeding activities, and that would be just, absolutely amazing footage. And the nice thing is somebody like you have credibility. And so if you get footage, it would have a lot of credibility.
I feel like for the most part, yeah. But there's always going to be people who doubt you.
There's always be cynics. Yeah, I mean, a good healthy skeptic I admire, because, they're the ones that will at least keep that open mind, look at it for what it is and not be cynical and say, well, there's just no way this is possible. Those are the ones that you're playing to anyway, are the people that are rational, that are open-minded enough to look at the evidence as what it is before they make their judgment, rather ones that have already said, don't bother me with the facts, my mind is made up.
Yeah.
So, that's the group you're after anyway, and that's the group that matters.
Well, the thing is, if like Justin could film a creature moving, hunting, be able to zoom in and get a lot of footage, you would know. You can tell a real animal.
Oh, yeah.
From CG or fake. I do think it would raise the bar far more than people think,
What I'm really interested in, beyond just filming the creature, is the social structure. Whether there is a language that they've developed, things like that. We can get enough footage of these creatures to uncover that, because there's clearly some type of social hierarchy going on there.
Yeah.
And it would be great to see that.
Well, we don't know.
More.
Yeah, there is with most primates. So it would be safe to assume, I think, that they have something similar.
I would assume so. I know that at one point in the documentary you talk about when you were sitting next to a river, and you talked about when Bigfoot, their kind of social structure, it's usually thought to be one male and maybe a couple, 2 or 3 females. is that is something I have heard as well, not just from you, but I think Doug's brought it up, and others have said that too. So that kind of speaks to that maybe that social structure right there too.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like it's all just theory at this point. So
yeah.
Do you get a lot of people, Justin, that contact you that want to share their experience?
I get a lot of messages every day, so much so that it's like I can't keep up with it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many like encounter stories that come in that are very interesting. A lot of stuff in my neck of the woods, but a lot of stuff coming out of the States. So, yeah.
Well, you think that Canada, because I've been up there. We both live in Minnesota, so Doug and I have both been up in Canada several times in our life. I couldn't think of a more perfect place for a Bigfoot than where you in British Columbia and the BC and off Vancouver Island. It's like you couldn't make a better habitat for them.
Yeah, well, they call it Ape Island. Doug, I think you made a Monster Quest episode about Ape Island. Lots of terrifying encounters from that island for like the last few decades. A lot of interesting, scary reports have come out. People having their vehicles shaken, and flipped over, and just like, I don't know.
And that all runs through your head while you're by yourself out there. All those scary tales.
When I was on the island filming that documentary, I was like sitting in the driver's seat of my vehicle all throughout the night with the keys ready to go, just imagining something walking up, peering through the window. So I was like terrified.
You were ready to lay rubber is what it was. Because I would be too.
Yeah, I was ready to get out of there if I had to. But.
Did you get a chance to meet John Bindernagel?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah, I was able to visit him. Like, I knew I was going to need somebody to interview in that film. And so he was the guy I'd always see on TV. So I just sent him an email, and he was like, hey, here's my phone number and my address. You can swing by whenever. I was like, oh, this is like pretty crazy. So, because he was kind of like a celebrity to me. Like, he's the guy you would always see on TV. He's the expert. And so it was really cool to be able to go out to the island and hang out with him for an afternoon. And man, smart guy, like extremely nice. Like, I don't know. One of the most highly respected people in the field.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's just too bad, him as a biologist, and he would actually go and do lectures, in front of scientists. And he just didn't feel he ever got anywhere with anybody else. He just frustrated him so bad. And he would he would coin phrases and things like ape behavior was first described by the North American Indians. I mean, that's a powerful statement.
Yeah.
Where they're talking about stick wielding and rock throwing, and the natives did. We didn't learn that about primates until the 1960s.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you could tell just by talking to him that he was frustrated. Like, if you just let him go on, like, it's sad. It's really sad. He
it's sad that he passed without getting, a little more confirmation of the species, But we'll see. We'll see. We're all still working on it. I had a close call last night, as I told you right before we went on. And it's just, I swear to God, when I called Adam this morning and said, don't erase anything from the cloud, he goes, we didn't set it up last night before he went to bed in the tent. So we didn't get any footage of that. None. And I'm just like, that's so typical.
Yeah. I think you guys are on the right track, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we are. And, now might be a good time we could talk about what we're planning on doing, Justin. Do you want to talk?
Okay. Yeah, well, I guess I don't really know where to start, but you were the creator, the producer of Sasquatch Legend Meets Science. So you can explain that after, but we're going to be partnering up to create the Sasquatch Legend Meets Science 2 documentary special.
Yep.
So we're going to be...
It's been a long time.
Yeah, because that was one, again, like way back in the day, I remember seeing on TV, and that was like a real serious look at the subject. And you're really good at science stuff, so you're going to be bringing all the science stuff to the table, and that's your thing. I'm the nature guy. I like going out into the wilderness and doing expeditions, and that's my thing. So combining the two into a sequel to that film will be something spectacular, I think.
Yeah, I do. I think it'll be a good partnership because really, Justin, in a lot of ways, we're opposites. And so when I watch one of your docs, I get envious because they're so beautiful and they're so they're peaceful to watch. If that makes sense. When you watch one of my shows, it's the opposite of peaceful. But I think a combination in doing a 2-hour show will just be fantastic. And you sent me a text the other day. I don't remember what you said, but you said some people might be freaked out that we're teaming up.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. So I'm excited, and we're going to start with being independent and not having anybody tell us what to do, and so we're going to try to raise the money.
Well, sorry, I was just going to say, if we do this, like, people will freak out at the fact that it's two really respectable people coming together with, each of them bringing, something fresh and exciting to the table, and combining them, and getting some other serious people involved, people like Ken Walker. People love Ken, and maybe going out on a big expedition and filming that while at the same time getting evidence that you've collected, analyzed.
Yes. Somebody just wrote and said that we're going to be yin and yang.
Yeah, it's been 20 years since Legend Meets Science was filmed.
Yeah.
2001. I can't believe it. It's already been 20 years, Doug. Where does that time go?
There really hasn't been anything amazing since.
Well, other than Monster Quest. I mean,
no, I'm talking about evidence.
Yeah, evidence. Evidence-wise, you're right. There has not been a whole lot. And it's not through a lack of trying. I think it's through a lack of technology. And I think that we're getting to a point where technology is starting to catch up with our needs as researchers.
There's been, I don't know how you feel about this, but there's been too many people just out doing research to just do it for their own personal.
Yeah, you're going to get that too.
In other words, they're not collecting scientific.
Yeah, they're not doing it. I mean, I've always thought that there should be like a standards and practices of research that everyone's doing at least the same way in certain respects, because that's what science demands. It has to be repeatable. So if you're doing it, everyone's doing it their own way. Therefore, it doesn't become a repeatable thing because their X factors are there.
Yep. But I really am excited to work with you, Justin. It's going to be
cool.
It's cool because, trust me, you're one of my heroes when I watch your films. And so I'm just really excited of what the outcome will be. It'll be very balanced. I think it'll be beautiful. I think it'll be jam-packed with results because I've got a number of things, including the skin oil, that we need to get analyzed, figure out what it is. We need the money to do that. It's not going to be very cheap. But you've probably collected numerous samples. You're going to be collecting future. People I'm working with have collected numerous samples, fresh, that have been collected properly. That's just one of about 20 different pieces of new evidence that we can get analyzed for Legend Meets Science too.
Doug, if you could do us a favor for all the listeners that are the novice investigators, they want to know the proper way to collect the evidence. How does one do that? I mean, we've never talked about that on the show.
Paper envelopes and Q-tips.
Properly collect that evidence so they can maybe add to the pool of evidence that to help put this mystery to bed.
Well, I mean, just very quickly, a lot of people are confused on plastic, paper. You're definitely going to want to wear gloves. Bring some latex gloves in the field, or these artificial latex gloves. Have clean Q-tips in a baggie or in a paper envelope. have a bunch of empty paper envelopes that are clean, sterile, and sealed in a bag. Bring a mask, like a N95 mask, so you're not breathing on the evidence and contaminating it. And just collect it with the, Q-tips and get it in a paper envelope and seal it up, date it. Put as much information on the outside of the envelope. Have somebody film you collecting the evidence. That can be really important. Just so it's vetted to a point, and save it in a very room temperature place out of the sun. That's it. Simple. Also, DNA kits. Specialized DNA kits are probably going to be better. And Shelley Covington, Montana, sells DNA kits for Bigfoot researchers. And you can get a hold of her on her Facebook page. And I think she's got a website. So.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep.
The good thing about you, Doug, is that you've been looking for Bigfoot pretty much your whole life. And over the years, you've been able to make relationships with people who are trustworthy, who can actually analyze that evidence for us.
Yes. Yep.
Because people always worry if they send their evidence away to get tested, they're not going to see it again.
Yeah. And that's kind of a nice thing. But as much as these people know me or like me, they ain't doing it for free.
Yeah.
They got bills.
They're getting a friend price, which is usually higher than the normal.
No, yeah. And we can get a lot of, we can probably get the best DNA test done ever in history, for this show. I think we can get the Patterson footage to a level that's never been seen. Some other footages that we both agree on that probably need to be looked at, get a hold of the original and do what we can to enhance them. So we'll have a lot of content. I guarantee it won't let anybody down. It's guaranteed. What did we say, Justin? We're going to, without a doubt, we're going to make the best documentary on the subject ever done, period.
Yeah, that's the goal. And I think with two passionate people behind it, it's going to happen for sure.
So no,
that'll be interesting to see. That'll be interesting to see the finished product.
So what are your theories on what do you think Bigfoot is? Just theory. I know that nobody knows, but what are your favorite theory?
Well, I like to use the Patterson footage as an example of I don't know how I'm trying to go about this here. Bigfoot to me is what I see in the Patterson Gimlin film, right? Because in my heart, I feel like that's a genuine piece of footage. So primarily, I like to think it's a flesh and blood humanoid of some kind. I entertain the idea of it being something else, maybe something interdimensional, but that's just me being open to theories. I don't like to ignore different ideas, but for me, that's what I primarily think it is a flesh and blood undiscovered primate of some kind, or some sort of a relic hominid. And I was going to ask you that too, because I actually never heard you share your opinion on the interdimensional matter, the supernatural Sasquatch thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to it, but to me too, it's just why go there unless we've exhausted for 50 years, another 50 years, trying to just go after a very intelligent, I think is just a very intelligent, hairy human.
Yeah.
I guess you kind of guys. Oh, I was going to say, both of you guys probably are going to have to, like the rest of us, and sit back and see where the evidence takes us, too.
Yeah.
If we, look, for instance, if we filmed, with one of these camera traps that we just put up, something really weird and really paranormal, it's going to have to be clearly paranormal, not maybe paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe I would consider it more, But why go there? Why take two mysteries and combine them?
Exactly. It is a bit of a leap, in my opinion.
Yep.
I think it's a flesh and blood animal. I don't see it being some strange extraterrestrial or some type of phantom or whatever. I think it's a living, breathing, mating, reproducing animal, like any other animal out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've always had the idea that its capabilities in the wilderness are so next level that it creates the illusion of it being something supernatural.
Yes.
That's
I mean,
kind of how
just having great strength could give it that illusion by able to grab a tree and catapult itself like an ape does. Boom. You know.
Well, exactly. You know, I mean, an ape
Right.
is so strong, and then you magnify it for size. We're talking about something that could be twice as strong as a silverback.
Yeah, we don't know. I've just, I don't think I've ever heard any evidence that couldn't be explained physically.
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't you agree? I mean, have you heard anything that's like has to be paranormal?
There's just weird things that occur more often than not. Is the lack of like full trackways. Like you'll get a few tracks and then you'll get nothing. You'll get maybe one good track and nothing. So it's like, what else are you gonna say? Like, there's a lot of accounts that do suggest weird stuff is going on.
But that doesn't mean they're not just, like a magician that can do amazing things right in front of you. Like Abe was doing magic tricks the other day in front of us.
Yep.
It seems to be supernatural what he was doing, but dang well it's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean something can't leap and maybe leap 10 feet into a tree. Leap into another tree and then hop down and, carry on.
But if you think like the science of like frequencies and vibrations, that's all real stuff. And our bodies are limited as to what frequencies and vibrations we can detect. That's all science. So there could be something going on with that. It's just something to think about.
Yes, absolutely. Because we just don't know. But why? But to me, it's also a kind of a defeatist attitude because you're going, well, why should I try to get footage? Because it's paranormal. Why should I try to do research? Because it's a spirit or it's a dimensional being. It's just not an excuse.
And not to discount spirits either, because I saw a ghost. I mean, I talked to him for 10 minutes. So, you know what I mean? But I think they're two completely different things in the paranormal. I don't think they have anything to do with each other.
Yes.
Personally.
And of course, if something's paranormal, doesn't mean it has anything to do with Bigfoot. I mean, it could be somebody associating something paranormal with Bigfoot, and the whole thing becomes a gray. Yeah, it becomes a gray area. But I'm after something that poops in the woods and bleeds.
Yeah. Well, that's the only way you're going to prove it for certain.
Exactly.
Justin, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I want your opinion on something. Do you believe that we need to kill one?
I mean, I don't want to.
No, but do you think that science demands?
If it doesn't come up as if a body doesn't come up as a natural death or an accidental death, then you would probably need a body. Unless that footage was like a 2-hour-long clip of this thing doing something in clear, high resolution. Footage. So
I think what he said is we need one, but he's not going to shoot one.
Yeah, exactly. I'm right there with him. I mean, I don't want to be the guy to do it, but we've had this discussion, Doug and I, and during our event we had, I got in a debate with an individual at the event that was, we're talking about that, and we all came to the consensus. Yeah, I mean, we didn't know, for instance, would we know a giant squids existed unless a body washed up on the shore?
It's true.
We wouldn't know. We'd have no idea. And then, of course, your footage brought us even more information about these creatures because we knew they were real, too.
Yeah.
So I mean, we got to have at least something to go off a specimen for a lot of reasons. But one of them, the guy that I was talking to happened to work in forestry. He said, for one of them is to protect them. We don't know what we're protecting. How do we protect something we don't even know what it is?
Probably you're going to need a body for full taxonomy, where it's 100% accepted, just becomes part of the fauna. But I think the bar can be raised. If Justin gets clear 4K footage, I think that'll convince 90% of the people.
Oh, I think so. I think so. If you can get that kind of footage, it would be a foregone conclusion.
Do you?
Yeah, I would. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Justin.
I was just going to say, I would like. That's why my goal is to get the footage, so we maybe could avoid the whole killing thing. But
you want to shoot one, just not with a gun.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, we probably would need a corpse of some kind, and then there's people out there who are like, they say like, we don't need to prove it. Like a lot of people nowadays believe that we don't need to prove it.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, well, what if you want to actually protect them? Like, you kind of do need to prove it.
Yeah.
And people are just caught up on the idea that, oh, well, they know for themselves that Bigfoot is real. They don't need to prove it to the world and blah. Like, I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if you care about them, you should probably want to protect them. And to do that, you would need to prove that it's real.
Yeah. It certainly would be cool, too, to have areas set aside, that are very specific habitat to one of these creatures. I think it would.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do we know it's not a dying species? Where they actually do need some protecting, and without having that evidence, we can't do that.
Right.
And so we might even be witnessing a tail at the end of a species, and that's why we are seeing so little of them. You see what I'm saying? Where if we were able to protect them better, we could actually bring them back, like we have other animals that are on the brink of extinction.
So my theory is that they're increasing because of all of the edges that are being created. Edges. I don't know. You can argue with me if you want, but the edges are where all the wildlife is. It just populations can explode around edges. I think we have far more white-tailed deer now than we did 100 years ago. Would you agree?
By far.
Would you agree with that, Justin? Just white-tailed deer or deer?
It would seem like there is, yeah.
Yeah.
But it depends. Like, it depends what area, I guess.
Yeah. But the edges, they seem to kind of be everywhere as we get into, modern times. Farms and forests, and I think that they're adapting to those edges, and I think they're using them for food sources. Go back 1,000 years, there were not apple orchards, right? There just wasn't.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Now when I watch, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say they do seem to be like opportunistic in the fact, like if they come across some sort of food that would be easy to get, they would go after. Like you got the old case, the Ruby Creek encounter that happened way back in the day in British Columbia, where it ransacked some barrels full of fish on a farm. Mm-hmm. So there is like weird interface encounters that happen. That's not in the forest, but it's not in the town. It's kind of on the edge of civilization, and it seems like either they're curious or they have no other choice. Maybe I don't know.
Sure.
Well, for instance, if I was going to go rabbit hunting, I would rabbit hunt right around my house. I would come back empty-handed if I probably went out into the forest. But around my home, I can probably kill 10 rabbits right in my yard.
Yeah.
Because they love all the shelters we have, all the flowers and the vegetable gardens, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So there's some huge food sources near homes, near farms. Deer are attracted to farms. Yeah, if you're going to go deer hunting, where do most deer hunters go? They go near a farm.
It's like bears wandering into like the garbage dump. They do that a lot in like British Columbia and Alberta.
Yep.
So.
So I'm sorry about this darn delay here in studio.
Yeah.
I think we got I know there's some bad weather going on down south of us too, so that could be causing some folks, we do walk on each other a little bit more than normal. It's because of the delay we got going on the audio. I do apologize for anything that might be happening. Really quickly though, I would not have guessed that was your first documentary, the one I watched this afternoon. Very well put together. B, did you ever get any responses using the rocks or the tree knocks?
No.
Okay.
Never. I've never had any response.
Interesting. Yeah, just
there was
curious if
one
something-
there was one time back, like when I was in college, back in like 2011, I want to say, where I was out in a remote wilderness area with a group, and we were doing a cross-country ski expedition. This was in the winter, middle of winter. The lakes were frozen. We were skiing from island to island, and I think it was like a week-long trip. And the one night we were camping on this island, and we started hearing like these knocks, like they sound like your typical Bigfoot would knock. Mm-hmm. And it was in sets of 3, and I was already kind of familiar with the Bigfoot subject, like all the old documentaries and all the stuff my dad told me. And I told my friends that were with me, I'm like, this is a thing that Bigfoot is supposed to do. I bet you if we like wait and listen, we'll probably hear some knocks coming from another direction. Maybe they're communicating. And sure enough, like right after I said that, we heard 3 wood knocks from the completely opposite direction. So it was just a very bizarre, random thing that happened.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
Because I know that I've had some knock activity back at me here and there, but it's been spotty. Doug now. Doug and I have talked about that several times. You've had lots of activity using that method, right, Doug?
Yeah, just wood knocking. Yeah, a very small amount of it. Just 1 or 2. That's it. Seems to it lets them know. I don't know what it means. We have no idea.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's some things you can go out in the woods and do, like the wood knocking and the whooping thing, but some people will talk down to like all these methods, but it does seem like the wood knocking thing is actually a legitimate thing that they do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to like the whooping calls and things like that.
Yeah, I've never done any whoops or calls or screams. It just seems it sounds aggressive. Sounds like you're an aggressive human. You don't sound like a Bigfoot. I don't care who's doing it. They just sound like...
you're going to be able to tell.
Like, oh my God, that person's really aggressive. I'm not going near there. Do a wood knock. They hear just a wood knock. Maybe they think competitors in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And what kind of like a deer call instead of you like rattling antlers in your deer hunting.
Right.
Very something they're used to, something they wouldn't associate with human beings necessarily.
And the key is to not do too many. Just maybe 1, 2. That's it. Done. No more. But do them right. So it's not the muffled wood knock. It's the kind it's echoing, and it's going a long ways. And then usually maybe you won't have anything the first night, but the second night, I can tell you with certainty, there has not been one time where I've done a wood knock, where at least by the second night we haven't had activity. Something is probably a Bigfoot.
Coming to check it out, what the knock was all about. Gotcha. So the key is less, not more, and quality of the knock.
Yes.
Maybe something to just get their attention and get their interest to the point where they have to check it out.
Yeah, that's
without giving it away.
Yeah, right. Don't give it away. And that's, once again, that's just because I've had luck with it doesn't mean someone else will. It could be just coincidence that we've had luck. But my son has luck too, the same way. Did you get that audio, Justin, I sent you from the Whiskey Jack Lake area?
Yeah, I did. I want to make a video about it because when you listen to it, you can actually tell just by the sound how big these rocks are.
Yeah.
Now, I got a story. I got a story about that Whiskey Jack since this has been audio recorded. I live in the area where this happened. Number one.
Well, sort of.
Well, I live within an hour's drive.
Miles,
Yeah, of there. But I talked to the outfitters about the area.
So what was did you wear headphones and listen to the 2 nights?
Yeah.
And what were your thoughts? Big rock?
My thoughts are that he's crazy being out there, for one. And like these are areas where people go missing. Like not, like, I don't know. It sounds like genuine activity to me because, what other creature throws rocks like that?
Yeah.
Other than if there's a person out there messing with them. which they would know probably.
Yeah. Did you hear the ones where they're rock? There's quite a number of them where they're hitting another rock and then ricocheting into the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just insane. Like, oh. And at one point, Blaine goes, easy, easy.
yeah, he does.
What to do. He just yells, like, take it easy, you guys. This is getting crazy.
And nothing hitting him, but just landing just out of range.
It's just a nervous, nerdy thing to do.
That's a common thing, though, when you hear a lot of reports of the rock throwing, is that it was aggressive and scary, but it was never close enough to actually hurt you.
Yeah.
So it does seem like an intimidation thing, or just they're trying to scare you away and get you out of the area. That's what it seems like.
So we definitely, Justin, just I know you think he's crazy going there, but you got to go there with him. You really do.
Yeah.
I think you'd be the only other person that he would take out there.
Yeah.
You haven't experienced anything like that yet.
Yeah.
That aggressive. I mean, that went on for hours.
I mean, when you think about it, it's crazy because, like, going out there, that could be the trip that gets the footage,
Yeah.
Well, I went after the recording.
We want to hear your story.
After the recording, I went up to Ely because I know a lot, just living in the area, I know a ton of the guides that take people up to the BWCA.
Right.
I talked to 5 different ones. Stopped guys I know very, very well that'd be on the level with me. Would you take anyone to Whiskey Jack? Every one of them didn't say they'd avoid it because novice hikers. They said they would avoid it because A, they get a strange feeling, and B, weird things, other strange things have happened to them in the area.
Uh-huh.
Right.
So, and they do not want to go back. When you want to go to Whiskey Jack, that is, a lot of them will tell you, especially the hiking outfitters, because that's a hiking area, will tell you to go on your own. That they will not take you there. A lot of them would not take me there if I asked them to go. They stay away from there.
Yeah.
But they all described a feeling of foreboding of not belonging.
Yeah.
Was what they all, and I didn't talk to them together. I talked to one, wait a week, went and talked to another one, then so on and so forth. And they had no idea I was talking to each other. They had no idea I was talking to all of them. And they all said there's that feeling of you just don't belong there.
Yeah. Well, or you can go alone, Justin.
Yeah, I'd do a solo night or two.
Oh, you'd be awesome in there. That would be
a good film.
Yeah, it would be. It really would be, because there's this whole story there, with the missing people, and the terrain is so amazing.
But we don't want to find your footage and have to put together a movie from found footage like a la Blair Witch.
There's literally
Bigfoot doesn't take people with cameras.
I was going to mention there's a hidden valley near Whiskey Jack that I didn't even know about. I had a guy that's really good with topography, and he looked at the Google Maps, and he called me up all excited, and he's like, you need to look at this. He said there's literally sheer cliffs, and there's like a valley with a river running through it that's probably inaccessible for any human to even get in there.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool. So
got to find a way in there.
Yeah.
It's got the way.
So besides Legend Meets Science, what's your next trip that you're going to do alone?
Oh, I'm doing a series for YouTube called Bigfoot Quest for the Wildman. I was going to do it last fall, but it just didn't end up, coming to be. I tried to do it on foot out of a backpack. Completely impossible. You can't carry enough equipment and food to sustain yourself for as long as I want to be there. So I'm going this October, the beginning of October, for a few weeks. And I know you wanted me to go by electric bike.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be going by a 4x4, like an overlanding rig.
Yep.
So I'll be able to sleep inside of it and maintain my sanity to some degree, I guess.
At some point, though, we got to get you on an electric bike, a big fat tire, low terrain, powerful, deadly silent bike that, we can rig cameras on it, and you can cruise up and down off-road or logging trails or whatever. Could be really effective.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, that would be good for just the odd trip out into the bush, like to use on a regular basis from now on. Like, it just seems like a very, I mean, it's something you don't see on a lot of the trails out where I'm from, so it could be something that would maybe pique the interest of one of these creatures if they did see it. An electric bike.
Yeah. No, it would be, because if you think about traveling silently, it's something new. It's new technology. They're going to be caught off guard. They're used to hearing the dirt bikes or people pedaling. And they're going to, of course, the pedal bikes are going to stick to one area. They're not going to expect someone to be powering up a hill at 30 miles an hour on a bike silently. That's where you could bust one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
So, could you tell us your dad's story? What happened to your dad?
Yeah, so this was a while ago now. It was probably like 12 years ago now. He was living on Vancouver Island, and him and his buddy, they would like to go fishing, like quite often at these remote mountain lakes. And a lot of times they would just start driving, or they would look at a map and they would pick a lake and they would drive to it, and they would go fishing for the day, and they would bring like an inflatable boat, kind of like a raft, and that's what they would fish out of. So they had been to this lake before, this lake called Henry Lake, and it's way up there in the mountains, up these logging roads. And this one particular time, they went out there and they got out of the truck and they start getting their equipment ready. They're getting the boat ready. And then out of nowhere, this massive rock, like a big boulder, comes tumbling down this slope, like off this cliff and down this slope, and it starts like hitting trees as it's rolling down. And when you hear something like that, and when you see something like that, you think, okay, it's just a rock that kind of gave way for whatever reason, maybe erosion or whatever. And so that wasn't really that out of the ordinary. And eventually they got on the water, and I think 15 minutes or so went by. And my dad was kind of lined up perfectly to see this. All of a sudden, another rock about the same size comes flying out of the tree line. Like, it didn't fall down from anywhere. It flew directly out of the tree line, and it hit a tree and bent it over, and then rolled off the tree and plopped into the water. And so he's like, that was really weird, because, how do you explain that one other than something throwing it? And what do we know that can maybe throw rocks of that size? Bigfoot. And, my dad was already completely like bonkers about the Bigfoot subject. So that's what he said it was. And I mean, you're in the right spot.
Very cool. Yeah, I tell you. What percentage of people, like in your area, you live in Alberta.
Yeah.
What is the percentage of people that are hunters and sportsmen, do you think, that have actually had an experience and haven't told anybody?
Well, I didn't really know it was as crazy as it was until I met Ken Walker. Like, I figured there was a lot of hunters that had experiences, but once I started talking to Ken, he really I guess shone light on the amount of hunters that actually do run into things and are too scared to actually tell anyone, or embarrassed to bring up the subject of Sasquatch.
Right. Yep.
He likes to describe himself as like the hairdresser of the hunting community, because when you go to the hairdresser, you gossip and talk about stuff. He hears all the stories that are floating around, and it's actually pretty crazy. He'll get people coming into his shop who will see, like, they used to see that taxiderm Sasquatch that he made, and then they start opening up, or they'll know somebody who's opened up. And then he's got stories that he's heard from people that work in forestry offices who, people who have gone missing, people who have died. Like, it's it's actually pretty crazy when you dig deep into it.
It's really interesting. Somebody, David Ellis, introduced me to Amy Boo. Goes and sets up at sportsman shows, sets up a Bigfoot booth just to get hunter reports. And you would think nobody would come right to her booth. She has people waiting there before she even opens up. Hunters.
So that's amazing.
Yeah, isn't it? And I thought, that's brilliant. Just to set up at these sportsman shows just to get reports. Because hunters are credible. You know, and they usually have very, very, very credible stories.
Well, it does depend, I think, on where the people are hunting. But also, like, hunting seasons are so short.
Right.
That to assume that hunters are, like, always running into these things is kind of silly.
Yeah.
It happens a lot because they're in these remote areas. I think that's the reason.
You know, really quickly on the hunter side of things, I get more sightings from bow hunters than I do rifle hunters for two reasons. And this is what I've kind of added up in my mind. Number one, the season is much longer for archery. Number two, they're completely camouflaged. A lot of those archery hunters are camouflaged to the nines. And
they're pretty sneaky.
And they're very stealthy, you know, by design, because when you're archery hunting, the element of surprise is everything.
Yeah.
And so I get more archery hunters talking to me about really good. I saw it, I watched it for a minute.
It's funny you say that because my first hunting report I ever took was in Scandia, Minnesota, and it was a bow hunter. I wonder if Ken, is that something that we could ask Ken that, whether he gets, you know, more reports from gun or archery people.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to investigate. I bet you it would appear that there's more bow hunters.
Yep.
But I mean, you do hear lots of stories of people running into them with firearms. So.
But they seem to be more fleeting glances than, like, the bow hunters seem to be longer encounters. If I had, just in my own experience.
Yeah, it probably takes the creatures a longer time to pick up on their presence.
Yeah. Which would make sense because they're using scent control, you know, stuff when you're archery hunting, scent control, where you're completely killing your scent as well as you can. And then you're up in a tree stand where you're completely camouflaged, wearing those suits. I used to be a bow hunter, and man, I would blend right into the tree I was against.
Yeah. Maybe that's what we should do. Just get into bow hunting.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it's not necessarily the bow hunting, but I think it's the camouflage, the being kind of melting into your environment. You know, where you're there for long periods, being very still. You know, where the squirrels start to settle down, the wildlife starts to settle down. They're used to your presence, where they're not so jumpy. Because squirrels will make you every time. You start getting squirrels chattering around you, that's it. That's the early warning system of the forest, at least, you know, as far as I'm concerned.
We kind of noticed here in Alberta, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but because our hunting season, it's in the fall, and we noticed that there's a lot of Bigfoot encounters that happen in the fall, like substantial ones too, like the Patterson-Gimlin encounter that happened in the fall. So it might just be that the two times kind of match up, like the hunting season, and then maybe the season of the fall is kind of like a transition season where these creatures are moving from maybe a summer area to a winter area, and so they're being spotted more often.
Have you ever thought about what you would project the migration patterns being? Because obviously, like, you know, where you are, the weather's a bit more mild in a lot of ways because of the ocean, from the Pacific Ocean. Or when you get into British Columbia, they're going to probably just migrate up and down, up the mountain, down, you know, in the valley. But Minnesota would be a different story. East Coast would be different. South would be different. Have you I mean, have you even paid any attention and thought about, God, I wonder where they're migrating from, all over the U.S. and North America? Is that something you even waste any time thinking about?
All I imagine is what I've heard from Ken, and that is that he figures they move into certain hidden areas in the winter and deeper into the mountains and potentially utilize caves. Because, a week ago here it was 35 degrees Celsius, and then in the winter it gets to minus 35 degrees Celsius. So they probably hide out in whatever shelters they can find in the winter. It would just make sense.
Yeah, it would be food sources. I mean, my theory here in Minnesota is that they probably follow the berries getting ripe north, and then at some point when they run out, they turn around and come south. I don't think all of them stay in Minnesota. I think they go down the Mississippi River Valley to more, semi-mild climates like Ohio and.
Sure, that makes sense.
But that's here in the Midwest. Going to be totally different on the Pacific Coast or Vancouver Island. They might just go from inland to the coast in the winter. Just stay on the coast, So it's just, and that's what makes it so hard, because they act more like black bears, I guess, in that way. Because I'm sure black bears behave differently in Alberta than they do here.
Probably.
Yeah. Do you have grizzlies in Alberta?
We have a lot of grizzlies.
You do?
A lot.
Does that bother you when you're out solo hiking? And
not really. I'm not usually scared of bears. I have quite a bit of experience. I've encountered a lot of them when I worked in forestry. And it does seem that if you're kind of person that worries about it and you're really scared of it, then you kind of attract that experience,
Sure, that makes sense. I was going to ask you, being that you are a firefighter, during a wildfire, during a forest fire, have you ever heard of anyone seen these things running out of a forest? I mean, where would they go during what we're dealing with right now in the States, wildfire situations? Like we have one burning just north of us.
Yeah.
Where do they go during something like that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
What I do know is that a fire can move really fast.
Yeah.
And there's no escaping it. There were many times where we'd be walking through a burn area and we'd come across the bodies of dead moose and all kinds of animals that just couldn't escape.
Mm-hmm.
And think of something like Mount St. Helens too. If there is going to be bodies anywhere, that's probably where you're going to find them, is around that mountain. They're not able to escape the disaster.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think a lot of people really know. Until recently, I really hadn't thought about, but you're right. Fires move dangerous fast. Yeah. I mean, it is amazing how fast a wildfire can move and consume the land.
So you made an interesting statement that a lot of people don't know. Everybody pictures the Bambi movie. The wildlife is just out ahead of the fire and they all escape. So you have actually found burnt moose.
Yeah.
Deer?
Everything. Bear.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Found even bear?
Found a black bear.
Wow. It's interesting. I don't think a lot of people know that.
Yeah, well, just think of all the wildland firefighters that get killed. They can't escape and they have vehicles. People in their vehicles get trapped.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Yeah. Dangerous work, my friend. Dangerous work. Takes a lot of bravery to do that kind of work.
Yeah, I don't do it anymore. I think the last season I did was back in 2016, so it's been a while for me.
So what was that like doing that work? I mean, it's not something most people hear about.
For doing it in Alberta is, I think, different than in the States, because it seemed to me where I was doing it, for the most part, you're protecting logging assets, you're protecting the forest itself. the trees from burning down. You're stopping that, and you're protecting like oil lease sites. And those were the things you were preventing getting burnt down for the most part. But like I went down to Montana to help out down there one summer, and it seemed like it was more a matter of saving people's houses from getting burnt down and properties. So it was more, I guess, meaningful down there, like doing that work. You know, and people appreciated it quite a bit more.
Yeah,
So-
because you're saving their homes, not some corporation's assets, but you're actually saving where they live.
Exactly. Yeah, but for the most part,
I could understand that.
When things are going down, it's like being in a movie. You know, it's like exciting because you're flying around in helicopters around these giant fires, and then you're landing, and it's just like a nonstop going after it, basically.
Did you have any close calls?
Like there were a few times where I'm like, wow, like this is really hot. Like, you know, like the wind will shift and it'll like send stuff your way, and it'll like, it's crazy, like the intensity, like the heat that comes off of these like flames. But we had more close calls with like aircraft. You know, like I remember in Montana, we had a pilot who essentially overloaded the helicopter, had too much fuel in it, and we could barely get off the ground because it was so hot too. Like a helicopter needs more power when it's really hot to get off the ground, and we had more close calls like crashing in a helicopter than we did actually.
Oh man.
Yeah, the air gets thin and then you can't take off. Yeah. You have no lift.
Yeah. But it's crazy though, because like doing that job, sometimes these fires happen in areas that are so remote that you would think maybe sometime you would come across a Bigfoot or something like that. You'd land in areas where you wouldn't even imagine a person's ever walked before.
And see something, you know, a body or something. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. You know, and then and how fast they move. I mean, like you'd said earlier, how quick and just the velocity that they move, fires can. It really kind of goes with which way the wind is shifting that quickly. And so, I would imagine that you've seen just amazing that you've come across like black bear and other animals that are just caught in the fire.
Yeah, I mean, that's nature. It doesn't care what gets killed. So
yeah, exactly.
So how do you think this mystery is going to end? Do you think it's going to end through science, accident, hunter, or never end?
That's a tough question.
I know it is.
I think someone will eventually come across a solid piece of evidence or a body, or at least somebody will get a good piece of footage, and that'll be something that will attract like more serious people and, you know, more mainstream scientists, I guess. I think that's probably what will happen.
Had you ever at any point in your life felt, I don't want to tell people? You're at a party and people go, oh, what do you do? Have you ever felt shy, or just you don't care and just tell everybody what you do? Or what? I mean, what's your personal stance on that, Justin?
I mean, here where I'm from, people are actually quite open to the subject.
Yeah.
And once people find out that I look into that, they're usually quite interested. Generally speaking, when somebody asks me what I do, I just say I make videos for YouTube, like, and then leave it at that. I honestly, like, in day-to-day life, I hate talking about myself and telling the same story over and over again. But for the most part, like, people react to it quite well, and they have nothing but like great questions. Sometimes if I want to be like, sometimes I'll be out with my girlfriend and we'll be hanging out with people, and then she'll maybe bring something up and I'll just be like, oh, now I got to talk about like
now I got to talk about it and tell the stories. Yeah, no, I hear. We get the kind of the same thing, Doug, in radio. You know what I mean? People, what do you do? Oh, I'm in radio. And of course they think that's the coolest thing in the world. Me, I just don't want to tell the same old stories again. You know what it's like to work in radio. You know, so I get that. I get that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not like embarrassed about it at all. Like, I feel great that I can do this and do what I love and you know, get by.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's better than, I guess, working a 9 to 5.
I was gonna say, has this afforded you your filmmaking, your YouTube channel has afforded you not to have to work a normal 9 to 5? Like, this is your job now, am I correct?
It is now, yeah.
And that's amazing. And that's
Yeah.
amazing. How many people would love to be able to do that? Tons of
Yeah,
them.
like for the longest time, I was doing like corporate video and commercial stuff for businesses and, you know, social media stuff, just as like a contractor. And not that long ago, I was able to like just stop doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's nothing worse than having a boss and them trying to like nitpick your videos.
Mm-hmm. Do you have sponsors for your content in YouTube, or is it all just through subscriber based drive?
Every now and then I'll get like a sponsorship deal.
Mm-hmm.
So the one regular one I have is Ridge Wallet. I don't know if you've heard of Ridge Wallet.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah. So they've been good. They help me out every now and then. But for the most part, it's just like the more videos I make, the better off I am.
Yeah.
Like if you don't put the time and effort in, then you're going to fail. You're not going to be able to support yourself.
A constant stream of content is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. If you treat it like a job, it'll pay like a job. So.
Yeah. How long does it take to make one of your videos for YouTube?
It depends how I'm feeling mentally. Like sometimes it's hard to bring myself to sit down and record something.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'll need a couple days to plan something out, but other days I'll just sit down and start recording, and whatever comes out of my mouth comes out of my mouth.
Sure.
So it depends. Like,
do you find the ones where you're just yourself, they're the more popular ones, or do you think that the pre-scripted, ready to go presentations, and what garners the most response, I guess, from your audience? The off-the-cuff stuff or the more thought-out and planned stuff?
That also depends. Like, obviously, the videos where I'm out in the field doing stuff get more views, but if it's just, you know, a regular video that I'm making, if I plan it out and script it, they do seem to do better than if I'm just rambling. If there's a specific subject or point in the video, then it seems to do better.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, kudos to you, man. It's a lot of hard work. It wasn't like it was overnight either. So, you know, you worked at it a long time.
It took quite a bit of time and money to get it going.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't ever finance your own films.
Have you made your money back on your first film, Justin? I would imagine 20 times over.
Maybe not that much, but I definitely did.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it can be, you know, it's one reason I haven't done anything, because it's scary financially.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when you're working for a network, they're at least reimbursing you on a regular basis and you're getting paid on a regular basis. But man, it takes guts, because people don't realize these films, even if you are doing them yourself, there's still a lot of money. You know, it adds up.
Well, I would imagine the independent film world, like you're part of, Justin, and other filmmakers. I mean, it's a little bit of a gamble. I mean, you don't have that, like Doug had said, a network backing it. So yeah, I mean,
it is a gamble, but nowadays you have way more options to get it out there. Like it's easier for people to get their little films seen. You could, if you want, just put it on YouTube and get ad revenue from it.
I was just talking with Seth Breedlove about that. He does Small Town Monsters. I'm sure you've maybe seen his stuff out there. We were talking on the phone, and he just said that same thing. That if it weren't for YouTube and places like Amazon Prime, where he could put his content, no network would pick it up for sure. You know, where he's able to make the movies that he does, the niche films, as he calls them. that become really popular, and you just don't know which one's going to hit either. Some of them hit, and other ones are just massive, moderate successes. Some of them are massive successes. Just kind of all depends on the right time, the right platform too. And I have no idea how important that platform is. You just can't slap it up there, but you got to be very, also, he talked to me about planning the video release too. That's very important. I never thought about that, because there's definitely a plan to it. So a lot that goes into it.
Well, this is going to be my first independent film. Never done one.
Well, Star Wars was an independent film back in the day, and look at it now.
Kevin Smith was an independent filmmaker with Clerks.
Yeah, exactly.
And look at that. Look how many millions that thing's made. A little black and white film.
The good thing is the freedom, and you have the freedom to do whatever you want to do creatively.
Yeah.
And that's where the passion shows.
Right. I love that, because when you're working for a network, you have to not only hit one deadline, the ending, right, when you turn over everything, but you've got to hit deadlines for every milestone.
Yeah.
So it doesn't end. You have to, wrap up your production by this date. You've got to have your animation done by this date, and everything's a milestone.
And Doug, really quickly, when you're working for a network, do they oversee your content as well? I mean,
of course, you've got to submit rough cuts and
so you can't just make what you want to make. You have to appease what they're after too.
Okay, but not only do you have to tell a story, but you have a clock you have to work with.
Jeez, that'd be rough.
So you get a clock, and you have to work everything in. The story has to fit, into chapters to fit in within this clock. And then you got to make room for resets, where the audience comes back from a commercial and get a little recap, and that screws you all up, and, it goes on and on. So to do an independent project will be, oh my God, a breath of fresh air.
I think it's going to be really good what you guys put together. I'm really looking forward to it, and I know the audience is too.
Yeah.
I think what you guys collaborate on will be genius at the end of the day.
Our goal, just to tell everybody, we're going to launch a Kickstarter, but we're just trying to raise enough money to pay for the forensics, right? We'll pay for the film, but we need money to pay for the, all the lab stuff.
Yeah, that stuff is shockingly expensive.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And I really don't feel like spending $5,000 to analyze a hair. Although I want the results. It gets, it just gets expensive when you're analyzing 10 hairs.
Could you imagine the money you would make if you were able to develop an at-home kit for researchers?
That's coming, I guarantee you, Joel and Justin. How long will it be before a DNA machine is like your printer? It's coming. It is coming. I already know it is.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the machines they use, they look like your printer.
Yeah.
So,
well, weren't they working out like at-home COVID testing kits?
Yeah, that's where I got the idea. I saw it at Walmart today. At-home COVID testing tells you whether or not you got COVID.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Joel, you need more than at-home COVID tests.
I need a lot more than that. I understand. I'm right there with you.
Sorry.
There's a lot I need, and I won't even start to go into what I need.
Yeah,
but anyhow.
So I guess as time goes on, people will find out more and more about the plans of this film and the crowdfunding page and all that kind of stuff, and we'll I guess go from there, and people will be updated regularly on the progress of that. So
I'm really excited. So tonight was the first announcement. So, and I know how excited people are to see Legend Meets Science 2. I get bugged about it every day.
Even at the convention we were at. Oh, I'm sorry, Justin. I didn't mean to.
I was just going to say, like, that documentary and Monster Quest are like the holy grail of Bigfoot video content.
Thank you.
Like, there's nothing else out there that rivals it. Like, it's a serious look at the subject, and it, that you get silly shows like $10 million Bigfoot bounty and, crap like that. It's just like kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
Or how about, have you ever seen the show Mountain Monsters, I think? Not Mountain Beast Mysteries, which is your channel.
Trapper John and the crew?
Yeah, gosh.
Yeah, I interviewed them
cringe.
several times on radio.
You just cringe. You know, and they're great guys, I'm sure, and they're nice, but it's just so goofy. You know, and I'm sure they don't even take it serious, but it gets goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't reality TV we're looking for. This is documentary, like filmmaking with science and nature. Imagine the IMAX films you go and see, a Bigfoot version of those.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How did you two meet? How did you and Doug actually meet, Justin?
I sent Doug a message asking for tips on distributing content to networks, I think.
Yeah.
Really? Was this through Facebook or just an email or?
Yeah, I just thought I might as well send this guy a message to see if I can learn a thing or two, and then we got on the phone and talked for a couple hours, and that was that. I didn't really know that Doug, I didn't know you watched my stuff.
Of course. Why wouldn't I?
He watches everybody's stuff. Trust me when I say that.
Of course.
You do. We talk.
Well, I don't watch crappy stuff, but I might 2 minutes, but then I'm done.
Yeah.
But no, your docs, I've always admired all of your work, all of it, and I mean truly admired it.
Well, that means a lot. I appreciate that a lot.
Right? It's just the way it is. You know, I mean, I'm the guy that would be afraid to call you. I'm that guy. So there you go.
It's backwards, man.
So where can, we have 4 minutes, which isn't too bad, but where can people get a hold of you? Are you on Facebook? Do you have a website?
There's a Mountain Beast Mysteries Facebook page. There's also the Alberta Sasquatch organization. There's 5 of us there, I think. And we have a pretty big Facebook page. And then just check out the YouTube channel. Leave comments on the videos, watch all the videos. I mean, there's stuff coming out every few days. So,
Great. What we're going to have to do, Justin, is we're going to have to make a little. You're going to have to make some kind of little small 2-minute, 3-minute video pointing people to our crowdfunding page.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys will be seeing a lot of, I guess, promo for that.
Yeah, you notice how I said you?
I'm. You're the science guy. I'm the.
See, that's when you stop, Justin. After working with Doug for long enough, that's when you stop and say, no, Doug, you have to do this.
Hey, I'll edit. I love editing.
Doug. This is his first indie production.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to get my hand held on this one. But I think in the end, Justin, you probably learn a lot more about broadcast, and I think it'll be a win-win.
But Doug, this is a big year for you. A, you go into radio, which you were worried about doing that, and here we are. And B, you're going to do this. So, I mean,
it's been interesting, and we've got some other stuff in the works, and we'll just see. It's going to be an interesting year. It's going to be really interesting. I can tell you this. Today was one of the most interesting days. And last night, just seeing the stuff on the cameras, it's freaking me out.
Well, I think you're going to be the guy that gets definitive proof. After talking to you, and hearing your stories, I think it's going to be you.
Well, it may be people I'm working, won't be me, but maybe end up being people I work with, which now includes you. So, the key to any of this, to getting footage, is just don't do the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's going to be a multi-step, effort. It's going to be a lot of work. It's not going to
Justin,
happen.
The best sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you at all. There's that darn delay again. Justin, the best way to get hold of you is through social media?
Yeah, just on Facebook, Mountain Beast Mysteries.
Yeah.
That way, if you have your own story or just want to talk to him, he's very accessible. I'm sure they'll answer you right back. So definitely take that time. And if you haven't seen any of his stuff, make sure you stop by the YouTube channel. And of course, you can get Wildman, My Search for Sasquatch. You can buy that right on Amazon Prime. You can buy
it there, but it's also free on YouTube.
It's free if you have Amazon Prime, Joel.
No, it's not. I paid.
Oh, it's still not?
I did because I felt his effort after watching the trailer was definitely worth the money.
Yeah,
So,
for $1.
Yeah, for $1, you can put that much time into it and put, all that kind of into it. I just thought it was definitely worth it. It definitely was, too. So if you haven't seen it yet, I encourage you to buy it. But if you don't want to buy it, I understand that, too. It's on YouTube. But if you want to keep supporting what he's doing in the future, too, I'm sure it goes towards funding other projects as well. Yeah. So it just ensures that Justin keeps on putting out great content because it takes money to do that. Doug, we are at the end of another show. Wow, does that ever fly by?
Yes.
Man, where does this 2 hours go? Well, guys, we got to get out of here. Take care of each other, love each other, and keep an eye out for what Justin and Doug are doing, the collaboration. Legend Meets Science #2 coming at you in the near future. All right, guys, we're out of here.